Brandon, I'm from the Hub Bike Shop, and today we're going to talk about those important things you should look over on a bike before you go out and hit the single track. Check to see if everything's tight on your bike, from just going over to the headset, making sure that's tight, to the handlebars, making sure nothing's loose. One of the most important things that I see that people fail to do is checking out that the tire's nice and that the wheels are on there. From back to front, always check them. Most important thing. And then next would be going to make sure your chain is lubed. If your chain isn't lubricated, it adds unnecessary wear, things you just don't need. Before lubing your chain, you want to always make sure all the old crud is off by grabbing one of your favorite degreasers. Today I'm using just a Finish Line. I really like the muck off stuff too. But by spraying it on a rag and just wiping off any excess going backwards, it really helps if you have a stand. Gets all the old stuff off there, makes the chain nice and clean. This way when you add the new lubricant, it doesn't turn your chain all black, get everything else dirty, and then you're bringing it here for me to clean up, which I'm more than happy to do. Almost all lubricants require you shake them before you put them on, get it good, and then just going from the center of the chain, just kind of roll it back, getting it on there, go backwards, and then just do a couple times after you're done, gets it all through it. And then if you have the ability to, like I have a stand, I'm gonna go through each gear. If you don't have a stand, it also works just to ride it around, get on it, go through each gear, let the lubricant get on each one of the chain rings, and then when you're done, just take your rag again, take a clean section of it, and wipe all the excess lubricant off. You're ready to go from there. The things I see most about people when they're riding is that they're not really setting the tire pressure. Not setting your tire pressure isn't giving you the best ride you possibly can. Everybody's different. If you're sticking to the one thing, something else might be better and you're never gonna know. Some people with tubeless especially, you can run lower PSIs, going between 20 to 25, depending on your weight range, and sometimes you can even go lower. Personally, I like going in the 28 range. It's just what I like. Everyone's different. But things like that, you should always check it before you go out and ride. If you wait after maybe 5 rides, odds still feel stiff, you go down a hill, you hit a rock just right, and that's how you dent a rim. Or if you have carbon, you crack it, and then it's even more expensive from there. So what we're gonna do after every ride, just can't be lazy about it. You gotta do it. Always check your tire pressures. It is one of the #1 things next to everything else, making sure everything's tight. So we're gonna check these guys at. I'm at a cool 28 in the front. I'm perfect, I'm happy with that. It stays there. In the rear, we're gonna go loosen up there, go. Another one, cool 28, I just did it. And then make sure you close your Prestas back up. If you're unsure about PSI, yeah, the sidewall gives you a range. Like this tire says between 25 to 50. I don't think I can ever see myself riding at 50 PSI. If you're at that high and you're riding downhill, it's just gonna be bumpy, it's slippery. That's how you wash out and that's how you scratch, and then you get these beautiful frames all scratched up. 25 is pretty ideal for on dirt if you're running tubeless. If you're running a tube, I mean, it gets different from there. We're always here to talk about it. I love talking about bikes and the setup with everybody. Same thing with suspension. If you've never had your suspension set up, your bike could be way better than what it is. Ride quality changes amazingly. So having all that set by your weight, your height, I help you do that here. I'm happy to do so. After you've checked over everything on your bike, I mean, I'm always a fan of double checking everything. I just put a hand on everything, from making sure everything's tight, grabbing the handlebars and the fork, making sure it's loose. One of the worst things that can happen is you have a loose headset. If you're not sure and something feels funny, one of the ways you could say it, by holding the front brake and just lightly rocking your bike back and forth, you can actually feel it. And if something's there, I mean, it's just a couple bolts away. You could bring it into the shop. That's another thing I'm happy to help you guys out with. Talk about your bike and teach you a little something. If your bike starts making a noise that you're just not used to, it's usually not a good idea to go out riding again. It's one thing when you're out on the road and you hear something, you got to get home. I'm going to ride it through. Anything that happens on the bike is fixable to an extent. Brakes start to make a little bit of a squealing noise, usually when they're running low. It's the metal pin inside touching the rotor. If you catch it pretty fast, it's usually just changing out the pads. If you let it go and you keep riding it and you're wondering, maybe a month later it's time to take it to the shop, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive with having to replace rotors, things like that. Squealing can also be caused by contaminants on brake pads. That's a little bit easier. It's just resurfacing. Another thing we love to do here. But yeah, it's just keep an eye out on all the stuff going on with your bike. Listen to the noises. If you're always wearing headphones when you ride, it's a good thing to maybe just do a little bit without it. Listen to the noises your bike makes and know whether it's time to get a tune-up or not. Whether your rear drivetrain is starting to click, things like that. It's just a small adjustment away to getting it fixed and saving you a lot more money if you catch it soon enough. All right, so you just went through your ride. We're back. As you can see, this bike's filthy. Some of the things you're gonna check through is like the chain. We're gonna just take a rag again and wipe off any dirt that came onto it. And then here's the cool part, depending on the lubricant you're using, you don't always need to reapply. Here, one of my favorite lubes is SCC Tech, and I think it lasts well over a couple rides, like maybe 5 or 6, depending on how much you ride. Certain lubricants, you're gonna wanna lube it almost every single ride. We have a ton of selection here. I'm always happy to talk about different ones. I have a lot of other favorites and everything like that. After you clean the chain and get all that done, next thing I like to do is just clean my bike. I always like getting my bike dirty, so clean it after a ride so I can get it dirty again. That just makes me happy. Here I have a shot bottle full of muck off. We sell all that stuff here along with the big tank to refill your bottles to go green. So what I'm gonna do is 2 things. This thing has 2 modes to it. It has a foamer that you could see. That one I really like to drench it with. And then if I'm gonna use a hose, but you gotta be really cautious to really be good about drying it off, not spray your points with bearings in it. When I'm just washing it on the stand, personally, I just like the mister section. It's a little bit nicer to clean off and everything. And I'm just gonna go through from top to bottom and get the whole frame done. The things we went over today are some of the most important things you can do to keep your bike running well. This isn't considered a tune-up. I still think that is extremely important to do at least once a year, if not sooner, depending on the noises your bike makes, but you can only figure that out by listening to your bike. Bike talks to you. Just remember, it's always good to check your wheels, tire pressure, make sure everything's tight, feel the bike, know your bike, don't just grab it and go. Really treat the bike how you want to be treated and it'll treat you well on the trail. Go out and have some great rides.